Hello, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I will be your host, Lieutenant Lisa Desamour. I'm currently stationed in our department's Fire Prevention Division, where community risk reduction efforts are our primary goal. We aim to improve your quality of living by giving you fire and life safety information. We also introduce you to our local safety partners. Fire prevention is a function of most, if not all, fire departments. The main goal of fire prevention is to educate the public about fire safety and the necessary precautions to prevent potentially harmful fires. And and what to do, of course, in the event that a fire does happen. It's basically a proactive method of preventing fire based emergencies and reducing the damage caused by them. Fire prevention, however, is a quite detailed component of any fire department. Most members of the department and even civilians will answer with an assured sense of confidence smoke alarms when asked what exactly is fire prevention all about. But there is more. There is so much more, especially in regards to being able to connect with a community that we so reverently protect. So, here with me today are a few members: firefighter Neymar Brown and firefighter Jonathan Reinhardt, who will share their insight and perspective of our fire prevention division. Thank you guys so much for joining us here today. I feel like this segment is seriously long overdue because, as I mentioned earlier, most times, when you talk about fire prevention, people, shout out smoke alarms. While clearly that's a big portion of our division, there's so much more. And with my interviews, and you guys, you know how I work it in the past. Um, First, I would like for each of my guests to tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with the department.
Um, Firefighter Neymar Brown. Working on my 18th year for the department. Um, Born and raised in Philly.
Short and sweet. That is never
Short
too
and sweet.
short. Jonathan.
Firefighter Jonathan Reinhardt. I've been with the department for 5 years now. I started off as a FSC, Fire Service EMT. Was that for about 6 months before I made it into the academy to be a firefighter. And I've been up at fire prevention for almost 3 years now.
Okay, thank you very much for your brief introduction. I see I'm going to have to get you guys a little bit more warmer to get you talking more into your normal, talkative modes, but that should be quite easy because we're already discussing things that we're very well versed in, I'll say. So let's begin our sort of Q&A style. Neymar, I'll direct this first to you, and then Jonathan, I would like for you to chime in with your thoughts afterwards. How important is fire prevention and preparedness programs?
So it's very important, right? Because we when we go to we do our programs in the schools, we do our programs with adults, and we do our programs with seniors, right? And one of the main topics that we always, no matter who we talk to, is having a preparedness plan. Whether it's most of it, if you're at home, what's your escape plan, right? Two ways out of your house, and then your meeting place, and that just goes across everyone who we talk to. So having a plan in place is important because when the emergency happens, that's not the time to think about what you're going to do. That's the time for your plan to be in action. Um, and no one can say, you can prepare for the emergency, but when the emergency happens, how prepared are you? So when we go over the questions and we talk to people, it's not just you. Certainly, the smoke detectors are one aspect of what we do, but the other aspect is education and making sure that you're prepared for whatever comes at you.
Thank you. Very, very important stuff. How about your thoughts, Jonathan?
Yeah, so just piggybacking off what Neymar said, we run into a lot of people saying they have an escape plan. They know what they're going to do, and it'll be a senior citizen saying that their plan is to climb out of their window on the second floor onto their porch roof and then jump down into a bush. And we got to try to explain to them that's not that's not a safe plan. When's the last time you climbed up and out of a window? Is that something that you're even able to do at this point in time? a vital part of any escape plan is actually practicing the plan, not just going over it and you make your map, you do your picture, but you have to physically get your body used to doing what you need to do. And so we try to instill that in the people when we're talking to them, and also trying to explain that sometimes you don't want to get out, sometimes you want to shelter in place. And so that trying to get them to figure out the differences between when is the best time to shelter in place versus when is the best time to get out.
Right, and you bring up a really good point when you talk about, that basically that flight or fight risk factor that kicks in most of us. It's instinct when emergencies happen, especially for something that you're not prepared for. So clearly, we all agree that fire prevention programs, preparedness programs, however you want to mention it, just having those plans in place before the actual emergency occurs is vital, is important. I don't think a lot of people recognize that your mind thinks completely different, during a situation that's considered, an emergency. You kind of get stuck, for lack of a better word, and because our thoughts are so much more different, our thinking process, our logic, it's completely skewed. So definitely the plans are important, and programs that are geared towards educating people for those plans are important. So I really appreciate you guys answering that for me.
So, one last thought on that is, I think we're so used to watching like TV shows and movies
Yes.
where they feel as though like it's an emergency, but they have to fill time. So, one thing that when we talk about people who've been caught in emergencies is how fast everything happens. Whereas if you show it in a movie or in a TV show, you can still talk and walk and people fall from stairs and they can still walk, right? And then the injuries aren't real, but these are injuries that are going to affect you. Just a regular contents of a living room can get over 1,000 degrees. Our body temperatures are under 100 degrees. So if you just breathing that in, that's one of the things that's going to impair you, right, from being able to get out your house. So having a plan in place for a true emergency, not what you see on TV, is what's going to keep you safe, you and your family.
Yes. And a lot of the points that we've just mentioned, I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it's okay because we always say, repetition is what works best for most people, especially firemen. So let's keep this program moving. Everyone shouts smoke alarms, as I mentioned earlier, when they think of prevention. What are some other elements of fire prevention? So we know about smoke alarms, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But what else? What else is there to fire prevention?
So fire prevention, what we do is, we have a youth team that goes out and they're tasked with every school in the city of Philadelphia, which is public, private, parochial. And they're tasked to go out and have presentations at different grade levels for all the students in Philadelphia. They're also tasked in the summertime to go to all the rec centers and have presentations again. So it's a year-long event. It's always changing, always event that's always happening. And then we have the team that goes out and gives talks to businesses and we kind of certify them to go and keep their businesses open so they can have their escape plans and they can deal with an emergency in the business aspect of what an emergency would be like and how to get the people that are working for them or working at their site out of the building safely.
Right. And when you talk about the word certification, and forgive me for cutting in, I just want to make sure I clarify that really quick. So maybe not so much using that word, but more so for certain occupancies here in the city, they have certain state requirements that they have to fulfill, and the fire department does offer that service. But thank you for bringing that up because that's clearly what question is about. We want to know what other things are going on. Jonathan, you want to chime in?
So we have those two things. We also, of course, we go to the senior living facilities and talk to both the residents there about, various safety measures that they can take, but also the supers that work there, the building managers, on ways that they can make it easier and safer for everyone to, stay there or get out, notify other people of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like usually during the summer we go to a lot of those centers and hold kind of like almost like a town hall meeting with the residents. They come down, they ask us questions. They like to complain about everything that their building's doing wrong, and so it's just, I feel like that's a little more casual. There's no paperwork or serve or anything like that happening with that. But just a lot of more like us going out and getting community feedback and answering what questions we can, and then thinking of what we could do to better answer that feedback.
Right, and that I love that you use the word community, because these are, services that we do provide to the community. This is the very community, that we are protecting. And in a sense, we want to make sure that the relationship that the fire department has with the very communities that they protect, that it remains intact, and that so folks are aware that we are here to provide, education. We are here to provide, smoke alarms. We are here, as a resource for people to use us. So what are some programs, Neymar, that you've worked on in the past that you enjoyed, and maybe throw out what you may have learned from a program?
So, another thing that we do is we have programs almost every month that we offer to like the citizens of Philadelphia. So it'll be like a program on like grilling. There'll be another program. October is a big month for us, so we do the fire escape plan from someone's house. So we do a lot of different things throughout the whole year that it's that we broadcast and we show the citizens. So we're always doing something, everything monthly. I think the programs that I like, I think I've gotten to do, I've been, able to do most of them. So I kind of like all of them, like, to be honest with you. It's like, because it varies, right? Sometimes you're talking to kids and the next day you're talking to adults, or you're talking to businesses, and sometimes you're talking to seniors. So it's getting out the message and then trying to connect with the community and how they can receive that message. So I don't want to be like, I give you a specific answer, but I like meeting people and going out and just doing different things. And it's varied too.
Yeah.
I enjoy a lot of it.
At Fire Prevention, you love talking to people. Neymar is the guy to go to when, everything is said and done, and you need to make a connection for later on. He's that resource for us in a lot of those programs and community events. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll keep this very informative conversation going. So please stay tuned.
As birthplace to the first volunteer fire companies, Philadelphia is home to one of the nation's premier fire museums. Fireman's Hall Museum displays the city's fire history in addition to promoting fire safety. You can visit Fireman's Hall Museum in Old City at 147 North 2nd Street. Visit firemanshallmuseum.org to learn more, or watch the museum's show, Curator's Corner, on LaSalle TV.
Welcome back to Freedom from Fire. I'm your host, Lieutenant Lisa Desamour. Neymar and Jonathan have been advising us of sorts on fire prevention initiatives and all things fire prevention related, which I think, as I've mentioned also earlier, is long overdue. So hopefully, this gives folks out there an idea, a glimpse into beyond smoke alarms. But as I said, we'll touch on that in a few moments. One question that I definitely wanted to ask is, why is it so vital to increase community awareness about preventing home fires or local business fires? Jonathan, you start us off.
So, we have fire fatalities every year that we want to cut that down. You know, we don't want anyone hurt or injured in fires. And then there's property loss. If your home catches on fire, you and your family make it out safely. You still have all of your books, your pictures, everything that you own is still stuck in there, your clothes. And so you still get a lot of trauma with that, of just losing your belongings, going from having all of your clothes to not knowing what you're going to wear to school tomorrow or the next day.
Absolutely. How about your thoughts, Neymar?
So as long as there's fires, right, then there should always be an education on how to prevent fires and how to protect yourself in a fire. So, you know, Philadelphia is one of the oldest cities in America, but we're also one of the busiest fire departments in America. So, you know, stopping fire prevention, fire prevention serves a purpose, right? Because again, as long as there's fires in the city of Philadelphia, we need to educate people how to prevent fires and how to survive fires. So, I mean, it's an ongoing thing.
And when we talk about this, it kind of leads me over to CRR, community risk reduction, right? Because in a sense, when we talk about, you know, making civilians aware, the general public aware, you know, of precautions, of safety measures, of, you know, all things fire prevention related, we understand now that a portion of that also comes, you know, from community risk reduction. You know, how do we reduce the risk in a sense in certain communities? There are certain communities who have, you know, more fires than others. That's the bottom line. So we want to make sure that, you know, we educate those folks. So first we find out, you know, what are the targets? And when I say targets, meaning, you know, what are the reasons? What are the reasons behind these fires? You know, is it kitchen fires? Well, maybe we need to educate that community about, you know, kitchen safety as it relates to fires and things of that nature. You guys know where I'm going with this. So this perfect leads into my next question. What are some basic principles that we teach in regards to fire safety in the home? And I think, Neymar, you started off with that before. You want to continue with what we teach?
Yeah, so we teach to, you know, have smoke detectors, right?
Yep.
We teach to have them on every single level, right? We teach to test the batteries, even though we're providing the smoke detectors are 10-year lithium batteries, but you still want to test them just to make sure that they're working properly. We teach that you should sleep with your bedroom door closed, right? We teach the home escape plan. So those are topics that we hit on, again, on all aspects of all stages of your life, because we teach from kindergarten to senior citizens, so everyone in between. And that's just a message so that people don't forget, and then we can continue to grow from that. And then,
right.
And then to tailor it. If it's, you know, electrical fires, like, hey, make sure that your extension cords, they're not wrapped and they're not under rugs or they're not pinched and they have UL listings on them. So there's a whole bunch of different things, and that's how we tailor it seasonal in the city so that we can present the message that's going to be appropriate at the time.
Right, because everybody from young to old, dare I use that word, I mean it in the most affectionate way possible, but everybody, you get the idea, everybody has a part to play. I mean, it's the parents' responsibility, obviously, to teach young children, you know, that the fire is not something to mess around with. It's not a toy, it's a tool, and it's a tool for adults, you know, and if you have older children, you instruct them the same and say, you know, the parent feels that that child is mature enough to understand certain, you know, concepts, then you say it's a tool under my supervision. So that's that little child's, you know, responsibility. That's the adult's responsibility. And of course, moving through the different ages, you know, we all have a part to play when we talk about fire safety. And I know Jonathan mentioned, I believe it was Jonathan, he used the word trauma earlier. And a lot of times, if you've never been affected by, you know, something traumatic, it's hard for you to grasp that full concept. And unfortunately, most folks that can grasp it is because they have experienced something very traumatic. But that's something, you know, that we try to avoid, which is why we have such a huge, education component. Jonathan, I'm going to direct this next question towards you, and then I think even maybe Neymar will be our Vanna White, so to speak. So you guys work on the adaptive smoke alarms, and please, Jonathan, tell us about that and what is it meant by when we say adaptive smoke alarms for those that are not familiar.
So these are special alarms that we got through the grant process, and the way it works is it picks up the frequency of the smoke alarms that you have in your house already. It has about a 50-foot radius, that can pick up the frequency of the smoke alarms, which is in Philly very often your neighbors on each side, sometimes even your neighbor across the street. And when it picks up the frequency of smoke alarms going off, this part here is under your mattress while you're sleeping, and it will vibrate and shake your bed and your bed frame to give you an extra boost to wake up. We're trying to reach out and install it for our senior citizens, people with hearing impairments, people that have odd shift work where you can really fall into a real deep sleep. While you're sleeping, your hearing isn't that great at the best if you have the best hearing, and so this is an extra boost. It does have a clock. It does have an audio component as well as the shaking component.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go out and we try to install these for people who need them.
So I mean, when we say, you may have mentioned it and I apologize now, when we say adaptive smoke alarms, they are specifically, however, for those who are hearing impaired, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but then you mentioned for folks who, like perfect example, shift work, because a lot of our firefighters members here in the department work shift work. So then we say, those that are hearing impaired, and then those who sleep really, heavy, that would be ideal for because it shakes the bed.
Correct. Yeah. So the original concept grew from trying to aid people in the deaf community that we have here.
Okay.
And as we were learning more about it, it just kind of expanded a little bit as to who all can be helped by this device.
So that's one of the things that, when we do our programs, it's not a one-sided program. Like we value the input from the community, and what we got from the community was that, hey, the seniors, people that take medication, and then shift work, nurses, doctors, firemen, police officers, people who work crazy hours, that they were asking or they were needing something that could help them in that type of an emergency. So that's how the program kind of expanded, just for listening to what people needed.
And that's awesome because I don't think, and because we're so, I guess used to it, if that makes sense, being here in fire prevention, that we kind of don't recognize or maybe even take for granted a little bit that a lot of people don't even know about these types of alarms. I know the department does, however, do a really good job of trying to get information out there, but it's just a matter of making sure that we're steadfast, that we continue to give information out, and recognizing also that we are not the only resource for information. I mean, because I know a lot of times for me, I'll look on, the U.S. Fire Administration, the NFPA, and I have here this, I don't know if we can get a good look at it. It's the 2020 edition, but I use this as, a reference, and it has so much information in it that helps us here as well. Can you guys, add to that as far as information, resources?
So OEM has a good website.
Office of Emergency Management.
Yeah, the Office of Emergency Management here in Philly. FEMA has a whole bunch of stuff and stuff with different languages. They have stuff, everything. They cover so much. That website's pretty good. Our website, the state website, Ready PA has a good one. So there's a ton that are out there. Red Cross is another one that has a whole bunch of stuff on their website for preparedness and things like that.
And this stuff is free, right, guys?
Yeah, all this is free. Everything's free. There's no charge.
Right. And I know some of it, I believe it's the U.S. Fire Administration as well. and I'm probably referencing it wrong, but I mean, we have so many search engines, we got a lot of tech savvy millennials out there and Gen Z and Gen X and everybody, but that you can go out and research this stuff for yourself online. And it even has it where it has like specific resource tabs. I'm sure you guys have, gone out there, and if you want to like look up fire extinguishers, there's a tab for that, and it has, what community you want to, basically educate, whether it's little people or an older group. And it's cool because, you can get that stuff electronically. You can print it out yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Like those sites are really good because it's not just one question. So if it's seasonal too, so they'll push out seasonal stuff too, like stuff for the summertime, stuff for the wintertime, stuff to get ready to go back to school. If you live in a flood area, if you live in a hurricane area, if you're worried about thunderstorms in Philly, like anything that you want to wear, like go bags. We haven't even touched about go bags, right? To get the stuff ready. And one of the things that we're getting a lot of from seniors is, hey, I have medication. What do I do in an emergency?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that those websites are really, really good at, because it'll show you what you need, like literally step by step, to put your medication away, to store it in an emergency, and what to do. And to keep in your paperwork and all those things like that. So they're really, really helpful if you want to.
Right. And if anyone wants to contact either Jonathan or Neymar, they can just contact you via email, and it's just your name at phila.gov. Is that correct?
First name, period, last name at phila.gov.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. So you guys can provide assistance with, connecting people, connecting members with, resources. You can send them links where they can get these resources digitally. They can print them out at their leisure. There's even some information where I believe you can put your logo. Is that correct?
Say that again.
You can put your logo on the bottom of, like, say, a leaflet information.
Yeah, there's some that are blank, right? So it's like a general information, and then you could put your affiliation on there.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
Open source status.
Yeah.
Not copyrighted.
Yeah.
There you go. So for folks that have concerns that, can we use this? Not copyrighted. It's there, to provide for everyone. I wanted to kind of get into any goals or, future hopes, but we definitely got to get this wrapped up. But I would say that the main, I think, collectively goal for us is just to make sure that we stay present in the community and making sure that we keep that connection strong. Is that correct? You guys agree?
Yeah, for us, like, just to let people know we're here.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just us putting out fires. It's we're here for you. And you know what? We'll pick up the phone if you call.
Thank you guys so very much for joining us today. You guys were awesome. Remember, if you would like to find out more about us on LaSalle TV, you can check out our social media sites. And if you're interested in learning about the Philadelphia Fire Department, visit our Facebook, Twitter, and web pages. Also, check out Fireman's Hall Museum, that is located 147 North 2nd Street, and meet our museum curator, Firefighter Brian Anderson. I would like to once again thank our guests, Jonathan and Neymar, for joining us today. I would also like to thank you for tuning in and watching. So until next time, remember, fire is everyone's fight. Stay safe and remain free from fire.